Debt is often viewed as a two-sided coin. It can either catapult you into wealth or drag you into financial despair in a heartbeat. In today's video, we're going to unpack how affluent people effectively utilize debt to amass even more riches, and how you can harness debt as a dynamic engine to propel your goals and aspirations forward. Wealthy individuals strategically use debt. The narrative surrounding debt is far from a contemporary phenomenon. To truly grasp its impact, we must journey back to the 19th century, during the era of John D. Rockefeller. By today's financial standards, his business dealings would be worth an astounding $400 billion. What makes his story particularly fascinating is that he was not born into wealth. In fact, he was the son of a farmer and even dropped out of high school. Yet, he went on to amass a fortune that outshined the collective wealth of modern-day business moguls like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. Rockefeller wasn't particularly gifted academically. One of the reasons for this was that the educational system of his time didn't offer lessons on money management or financial literacy. But Rockefeller's journey took a turn when he secured a position as an assistant bookkeeper. This role was transformative. He gained an in-depth understanding of how the business world operated, not merely from a theoretical standpoint, but from a gritty, ground-up perspective. Equipped with this newfound business acumen, Rockefeller realized that he could cultivate enormous wealth, provided he had some starting capital. And so, he borrowed a relatively small amount of $1,000 from his father. That was his first foray into debt, but it served as a cornerstone, giving him a strong foothold in the world of business. Within a mere 2 years, his small agricultural commodity trading venture yielded profits upwards of $17,000, a remarkable return on investment by any standard. During this time, he noticed that the oil industry was showing significant growth potential. While kerosene oil was in demand, the existing methods of extraction through coal were inefficient and costly. Plus, the expenses associated with storing the oil in barrels were exorbitant. So, Rockefeller, ever the inventor, opted to use gasoline instead of coal for the extraction process and started manufacturing barrels in-house, substantially lowering production costs. Such resourceful approaches gained him the respect and trust of financial institutions and lenders. They began to see him not as a mere client, but as a strategic business partner. Consequently, they started offering him loans on more favorable terms. That's when the tide truly shifted for Rockefeller. Armed with a financial leverage point, he strategically employed debt to acquire smaller competitors in the oil sector, effectively building a monopoly. This monopoly enabled him to negotiate volume discounts from the railroads, thus significantly reducing transportation costs. As a result, even households with low incomes could now afford kerosene. By the 1870s, Rockefeller, who began life as a humble farmer's son, was a millionaire at just 31 years old. Moreover, his company, Standard Oil, was refining an extraordinary 90% of all the oil produced in the United States. Perhaps the most salient aspect of Rockefeller's approach to business was his impeccable track record when it came to managing debt. He always met his financial obligations and repaid his loans on schedule. However, he never shied away from borrowing money whenever he saw an opportunity for growth. His story is not merely a testament to the power of strategic debt, but also an example of how one man, regardless of his humble beginnings, can reshape an entire industry, and in doing so, leave an indelible mark on the world. High net worth people seldom rely on salary. While many of us are dazzled by the billion-dollar mansions, luxury cars, and lavish vacations that the world's wealthy indulge in, the real financial mechanics behind these lifestyles remain largely misunderstood. Elon Musk, in a revealing 2021 tweet, stated, "I only have stocks. Thus, the only way for me to pay taxes personally is to sell stocks." Now, to the casual Twitter user, this might just seem like another tweet to scroll past. However, those who can read between the lines will see a critical financial strategy at play. You see, Elon Musk doesn't actually draw a salary, yet he enjoys a life of luxury. How? He owns billions in Tesla stocks, which he doesn't sell. Instead, he leverages those stocks to borrow money and sustains his lifestyle on that debt. This approach offers him two substantial benefits. First, he sidesteps personal income tax because borrowed money is not taxable income, even though he can spend it as he pleases. Second, he avoids capital gains tax, which would be incurred if he sold his Tesla stocks. Instead of selling, Musk uses his stock as collateral for loans, what some refer to as an evergreen line of credit. Imagine he secures a loan at a 6% interest rate. All he needs to ensure is that Tesla's growth outpaces that 6% rate. When it's time to pay off one loan, he simply takes out another, using the same Tesla shares as collateral, thereby perpetuating the cycle. This is how Elon Musk manages to live a life many can only dream of, using a financial strategy that turns debt into a resource rather than a burden. Real estate is a favorite among the affluent. While the idea of real estate often conjures images of a single-family home for most people, the wealthy view it as a vehicle for tax-efficient wealth accumulation. Consider this: many people struggle to pay off one mortgage, yet the rich leverage debt to acquire multiple properties worldwide. Oddly enough, they don't even reside in these homes. Take Elon Musk, who borrowed $61 million to buy 5 California houses in 2018 despite easily affording to pay cash. What's the strategy here? Average folks typically borrow only when they can afford something outright, while the rich opt for debt even when they can pay in cash. Why? Because strategically managed debt incurs zero taxes. Here's how it works in the real estate game. Let's say you identify a $1 million property. You borrow 80% from a bank and get the remaining 20% from investors. If your debt repayment is $100,000 and maintenance costs are $20,000, your total expenses equal $120,000. Now, if you rent that property for $140,000, you make a net profit of $20,000 without investing any of your own money. But the true genius lies in the tax strategy. Depreciation, an allowable tax deduction for the assumed wear and tear of your property, doesn't actually require a cash outlay. Using an industry-standard depreciation rate, often 1/39th, you can depreciate your $1 million building by approximately $25,841 annually. Because this depreciation is greater than your $20,000 net income, you end up showing a tax loss of minus $5,641, effectively paying zero taxes while still pocketing $20,000 that you're free to spend as you like. So the rich don't just use debt to buy things they can't afford. They use it as a strategic tool for wealth accumulation and tax optimization. And that's a game changer. Assets and liabilities are separated. When Elon Musk chose to acquire Twitter, he opted to borrow $13 million despite a net worth nearing $250 billion. To the average person, this seems illogical. If you're worth $250 billion, why not just pay the $13 billion? The strategy behind this move is called a leveraged buyout, or LBO. In an LBO, the loan is backed by the asset of the company being bought. In this case, Twitter. Lenders bank on the acquired company being profitable enough for its future cash flows to offset the debt. Musk's interest in Twitter isn't just a profitable venture. He views it as a platform for social change and free speech. This indicates that he has reservations about Twitter's long-term profitability, making the LBO approach even more sensible. If Twitter succeeds, Musk reaps significant profits. If it fails, his risk is confined to his equity in Twitter. Lenders can't force him to personally offset the debt, but can only recoup their loans by liquidating Twitter's assets. By borrowing the money, Musk safeguards his personal assets. His diverse businesses each maintain their independent legal structures. Thus, if Twitter goes under, lenders can't compel him to sell his Tesla shares, valued at $94 billion, to repay the loan. Musk's luxurious lifestyle remains untouched regardless of the outcome. Generating liquidity. The wealthy have a knack for accumulating assets, often with the intention of passing them down through generations. They understand the long-term value these assets can offer, prioritizing family legacy over a debt-free lifestyle. But this asset-focused approach doesn't mean they ignore big investment opportunities. Instead, they leverage debt to create liquidity, seizing profitable ventures that come their way. Take Mukesh Ambani, chairman of Reliance Industries, for instance. In April 2023, he took out a staggering $5.5 billion loan for India's 5G rollout. Sounds big, right? But consider that $5.5 billion isn't even 7% of his $82 billion net worth. Ambani's residence, Antila, alone is worth $2 billion, and he has a portfolio of global properties. By selling just a fraction of these assets, he could easily finance the 5G rollout debt-free. So why borrow? Ambani plans to pass down these valuable assets to his children, Akash, Ananda, and Esha. He's playing a long game, especially with an eye on the enormous economic growth 5G could bring, potentially contributing to 2% of India's GDP by 2030 and generating $180 billion in economic growth. Ambani knows that sacrificing such an opportunity due to liquidity constraints is not an option. He'd rather finance the 5G rollout through debt now and use future profits to pay it back than sit idly by and watch competitors encroach on his market share. Beating inflation. In 2012, Mark Zuckerberg did something fascinating. With a net worth of $15.6 billion, he still took out a mortgage for his house at an interest rate of just 1.05%. Why? Well, the average mortgage rate at that time was around 2.76%. But Zuckerberg's massive net worth made him a low-risk bet for banks, granting him a preferential rate. But there's more to this story that many overlook. First, by not tying up his capital in the house, he had the freedom to invest in high-yield opportunities, which would offer him profits even after accounting for the interest on the mortgage. Second, he opted for a 30-year mortgage, effectively deferring his expenses to a future where, thanks to inflation, the real value of those payments will be a fraction of their worth today. So, Zuckerberg isn't just living in the house of his dreams, he's also smartly managing his wealth by leveraging debt, taking advantage of time, and planning for future financial goals. This is how the rich use debt not as a burden, but as a tool to amplify their wealth. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the like button and subscribe. Don't forget the notification bell for updates. Your support helps us make more great content. See you in the next video.